The night smelled like expensive wine and betrayal. Isabella Romano stood outside the grand doors of her family's mansion, staring at the city lights below the hill. Inside, powerful men laughed, glasses clinked, and a deal was being celebrated. A deal that involved her. "She's here." Her father's voice came from behind. Isabella turned slowly. The room fell silent as she stepped inside. Dozens of dangerous eyes watched her like she was already sold. At the center of the table sat the man everyone feared. The Mafia King. Adrian Volkov. Cold. Calm. Untouchable. His dark gaze lifted to meet hers, studying her like she was something he had already decided to own. Isabella felt anger burn through her chest. "No," she said instantly. "Whatever this is, the answer is no." A few men chuckled. Her father didn't. "You don't understand the situation," he said quietly. "Oh, I understand perfectly," she snapped. "You're offering me like a business contract." Silence spread across the room. Then Adrian finally spoke. His voice was low. "Dangerous. It's already done." Isabella's stomach dropped. Her father slid a document across the table. A marriage agreement. Signed. By everyone except her. "You can't force me to marry him," she said, her voice shaking with fury. Adrian leaned back in his chair, watching her reaction with unsettling calm. "You're not being forced," he said. "You're being protected." She laughed bitterly. "From what? You?" A flicker of amusement crossed his face. "From the men who would destroy your family tomorrow morning if this alliance doesn't happen tonight." Her father wouldn't meet her eyes. And that's when she realized something terrifying. This wasn't a discussion. It was a rescue mission disguised as a wedding. "You should hate me," Adrian continued quietly. "But without me, you won't survive the week." Isabella's heart pounded. She refused to show fear. "If you think I'm going to be some obedient mafia wife, you're insane." For the first time, Adrian smiled. "Slow. Dangerous. I don't want obedience." He stood. The entire room straightened. "I want you exactly the way you are." His eyes locked onto hers. "Fiery queens are far more interesting." Isabella clenched her fists. This man might control the underworld. But she swore one thing in that moment. She would never belong to him. The wedding was planned in less than 24 hours. That alone told Isabella how powerful Adrian Volkov really was. By evening, the Romano estate had transformed into something out of a dark fairy tale. Black roses. Candlelight. Armed guards hidden among elegantly dressed guests. This wasn't a wedding. It was a warning to the entire underworld. Isabella stood upstairs in front of a mirror, staring at the dress forced onto her body. White silk. Long sleeves. Beautiful enough to fool anyone watching. But she felt like she was wearing chains. Her best friend Sophia adjusted the veil nervously. "You could still run," Sophia whispered. Isabella almost laughed. "Look outside." Sophia peeked through the curtain. Dozens of black cars. Armed men. Snipers on rooftops. "Right," Sophia muttered. A knock came at the door. "Time." Isabella's jaw tightened. When she stepped outside, the entire hall fell silent. And there he was. Adrian Volkov. Dressed in a black suit like a king attending his own coronation. Calm. Untouchable. Dangerous. His eyes locked onto her immediately. Not smiling. Not soft. Just watching. Like he was studying the storm walking toward him. Isabella walked down the aisle slowly, every step filled with rebellion. When she finally stood beside him, the priest began speaking. She didn't hear a word. Instead she leaned closer to Adrian and whispered so only he could hear. "Enjoy this moment." His eyebrow lifted slightly. "Why?" "Because it's the last time I'll ever make this easy for you." A faint smirk appeared on his lips. That irritated her even more. The priest cleared his throat. "Do you take?" "Yes," Adrian said calmly. The priest blinked. "We haven't." "Yes," Adrian repeated. A few quiet laughs spread across the guests. The priest turned to Isabella. "And do you?" "No." The room exploded into whispers. Her father looked like he might faint. Adrian, however, didn't react. Instead he leaned closer, his voice low enough that only she could hear. You can fight me all you want. His eyes held her steadily. But the moment you walk out those doors. He nodded slightly toward the windows. Every enemy my world has will know you're unprotected. Her stomach twisted. He wasn't threatening her. He was telling the truth. Silence stretched. The entire room waited. Isabella exhaled slowly. Fine. The priest nearly collapsed with relief. Then by the power vested in me. Adrian's hand gently took hers. Warm. Steady. Dangerous. You're going to hate being my wife, he murmured. Isabella glared at him. Trust me. I already do. The first thing Isabella noticed about Adrian Volkov's mansion was the silence. Not peaceful silence. Controlled silence. The kind that meant everyone inside knew exactly who was in charge. The massive iron gates closed behind the car as they drove in, sealing her into a world she never wanted. Isabella looked out the window at the enormous estate. Guards patrolled the grounds. Cameras watched every corner. This isn't a house, she muttered. It's a prison. Adrian sat across from her in the back seat, calm as ever. It's a fortress. That I didn't ask to live in. You're alive because of it. She rolled her eyes and looked away. The car stopped at the entrance, where a line of staff waited. The doors opened. Everyone immediately lowered their heads. Welcome home, Mrs. Volkov. The title made her stomach twist. Inside, the mansion was even more intimidating. High ceilings. Dark marble floors. Art that probably cost more than most houses. Power lived here. Adrian walked beside her like none of this was unusual. Your room is upstairs, he said. My room. Yes. She stopped walking. Oh no. The staff froze. Isabella crossed her arms. Let's get one thing clear, Mafia King. Adrian slowly turned toward her. I'm not sharing a room with you. A dangerous flicker of amusement appeared in his eyes. You think I brought you here for romance? She glared. You married me. Yes. And husbands usually sleep with their wives. Adrian leaned slightly closer. His voice lowered. When I decide to touch you, Isabella. Her heart skipped unexpectedly. It won't be because tradition expects it. Heat rushed to her face instantly. She hated that reaction. Hated that he noticed. His smirk confirmed it. Relax, he said calmly. Your room is down the hall from mine. She let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. A woman approached. Mrs. Volkov, I'll show you. A loud noise suddenly echoed outside. Gunshots. The entire mansion shifted instantly. Guards rushed to positions. Staff disappeared. Isabella's heart jumped. What was that? Adrian didn't panic. He didn't even look surprised. Instead he pulled a gun from inside his jacket. Effortless. Like breathing. Welcome to my world, he said quietly. More gunshots rang out beyond the gates. Isabella stared at him. This is your normal. Adrian checked the weapon calmly. For now. Then his eyes hardened. But someone just made a very serious mistake. The gunfire stopped after 10 minutes. But the tension inside the mansion stayed. Isabella stood in the grand hallway, arms folded, trying not to show how fast her heart was beating. Men with weapons moved quickly through the house, speaking in low voices. No one questioned Adrian. They waited for him. A tall man rushed in through the front doors. Boss, they're gone. Adrian's voice was calm. Too calm. How many? 4. Maybe 5. They didn't make it past the outer gate. Isabella blinked. They attacked this place with 5 people. The man looked confused that she spoke. Adrian answered instead. They weren't trying to win. Then what were they trying to do? His eyes shifted to her. Send a message. That didn't make her feel better. Not even a little. The guards eventually left, and the house slowly returned to normal. But Isabella noticed something strange. Everyone seemed more alert, more protective of her. She turned toward Adrian. This is because of the marriage, isn't it? He didn't deny it. Yes. So congratulations, she said bitterly. Your enemies hate me already. They hated you the moment your name was connected to mine. Isabella ran a hand through her hair. This is insane. Adrian studied her quietly. You're handling it better than most people would. I'm not handling it. I'm trapped. Silence stretched between them. For a moment, his expression softened slightly. You're not a prisoner here. She laughed. The gates, the guards, the guns say otherwise. That security is the only reason you're safe tonight. His tone had changed. More serious now. You still don't understand how dangerous this world is. And whose fault is that? Mine. The answer surprised her. Adrian walked toward the large window overlooking the dark estate. When powerful men lose control, he said quietly, they look for something valuable to take. His eyes shifted toward her. A new wife is very valuable. Isabella felt a chill run down her spine. So I'm bait. No. His voice hardened. You're the reason they're getting brave. Before she could respond, another guard entered the room. There's something else, boss. Adrian turned. What? The guard hesitated. They left a message on the outer wall. Isabella frowned. What message? The guard looked directly at her. For the bride. The room suddenly felt colder. Adrian's expression darkened instantly. Show me. No one spoke as they walked outside. The night air was cold, and the estate lights illuminated the massive front gates where several guards were gathered. Isabella felt tension growing with every step. Something was wrong. Very wrong. When they reached the wall, the guards moved aside. And that's when she saw it. Red paint. Or at least, she hoped it was paint. For words were written across the stone in huge dripping letters. We will take her. Isabella's stomach dropped. Silence fell over the courtyard. Adrian stared at the message without emotion, but the energy around him changed. The calm Mafia King from earlier was gone. This version of him was colder. Dangerous. One of the guards spoke carefully. It's the Caldero family. Isabella looked at Adrian. The people who attacked earlier. Yes. And they want me. They want leverage. Her chest tightened. So what happens now? Adrian turned slowly toward his men. Erase it. No hesitation. No anger. Just a quiet command. Within seconds the guards began scrubbing the wall. Like the threat had never existed. But Isabella still felt it. Burning in her mind. You're taking this too calmly, she said. Adrian looked at her. I'm not calm. You look calm. That's because panic gets people killed. Before she could respond, another man approached quickly. Boss, we found something else. Adrian's eyes narrowed. What? A tracker. Isabella froze. Where? The guard pointed. Under the wedding car. A heavy silence followed. Understanding hit instantly. Someone had followed them. From the wedding. Adrian's jaw tightened slightly. Which means, he said quietly, this wasn't a random warning. Isabella felt fear creep into her chest. They planned this. Yes. And they know where I live now. Adrian stepped closer to her. His voice dropped lower. No. His eyes were cold steel now. They know where I live. For the first time since meeting him, Isabella saw something terrifying. Not fear. Not anger. War. And suddenly she realized something even worse. She hadn't married a man. She had married the most dangerous weapon in the city. And someone had just pointed it at themselves. Isabella couldn't sleep. The mansion was quiet, but her mind raced. Every shadow seemed to move. Every whisper of wind sounded like danger. Adrian's presence was everywhere, like a shadow she couldn't escape. And yet, she couldn't stop thinking about him. She hadn't wanted this marriage. She had despised the idea of him. Yet now, She felt exposed, like a moth caught near a flame she couldn't resist. The next morning, Adrian called her to his study. She hesitated at the door. Every instinct screamed run, but she couldn't move. He was seated behind a massive desk, looking impossibly calm. "Sit," he said, not unkindly. She did, reluctantly. "You're awake early," he noted, eyes scanning her like he could see inside her mind. "I have a lot to think about," she replied sharply. Adrian leaned back. His expression softened slightly, but the intensity never left his gaze. "Do you know why I married you?" he asked. Isabella blinked. "Because of business." He shook his head slowly. "No, not just business. Not just alliances. I've watched you for years." Her eyes widened. "Years?" "Yes. You're nothing like the women I've known. Strong, fiery, unpredictable, dangerous in your own right." She frowned, unsure if she should be offended or terrified. "So, I'm just some trophy you've been stalking?" she asked, biting back a sarcastic laugh. "No," he said, voice dropping lower. "I married you because I saw something in you no one else did. Something I couldn't ignore. Even now." Isabella's chest tightened. Her anger flared, but beneath it, something unfamiliar stirred. "You chose me." "I did." Adrian's eyes held her steadily. "Not because I needed you. Because I wanted you." She wanted to argue, to push him away. But the truth hit harder than any threat on the wall. For the first time, she realized this marriage wasn't just about survival or alliances. It was personal. And that realization made her pulse race, not with fear, but something else. "I hate that I might," she began, but stopped. Words failed her. Adrian stood, closing the distance between them. "Hate what?" She looked down, unable to answer. He smiled faintly. "Don't worry. I'll make it easy. Or, impossible. Your choice." Isabella swallowed hard. She hated him. And yet, for the first time, she wondered if she could ever hate a man who had already claimed her heart without asking permission. And just like that, the line between fear and desire blurred. The sound of heels clicking against marble echoed through the mansion. Isabella froze. She had been expecting another threat from the streets, another warning. But this was different. A woman appeared in the doorway of the grand hall. Tall, elegant, confident, dangerous. Adrian. Her voice was soft, but it carried authority. Adrian's posture stiffened, but his expression didn't change. He didn't flinch, didn't smile. Just watched. Isabella's heart thudded. Something about this woman made her uneasy. "This is," she started, but Adrian interrupted. "Isabella, meet Valeria. An old acquaintance." "Acquaintance?" Isabella echoed, trying to keep her voice steady. Valeria smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Old friends never really disappear, do they?" Isabella's stomach twisted. The tension in the room was palpable. She could feel Adrian's focus on Valeria, subtle but undeniable. "Valeria," Adrian said evenly, "what brings you here?" "Business and personal interest," Valeria replied, her gaze flicking to Isabella before returning to him. Isabella's blood ran cold. Personal interest. Her hands clenched into fists at her sides. "So, you're here to claim him back?" Valeria's lips curved into a faint smirk. "I'm not here to claim anything, except the truth." Adrian stepped slightly in front of Isabella. The protective wall she hadn't realized she craved tightened around her. "You have nothing to do with this," he said firmly. Valeria's gaze softened for a fraction of a second, then sharpened again. "I think she might be wrong, Adrian." Isabella glared at both of them. She hated this feeling of being sidelined, of being watched like an intruder in someone else's story. Adrian's eyes returned to hers, dark and unreadable. "She's from my past. You're my future." His words were calm, but Isabella felt the weight of them. For the first time, she realized that Adrian's life wasn't just dangerous, it was complicated. And now, she was trapped in the middle of it. Valeria smiled one last time, enigmatic and dangerous, before turning on her heel and leaving. The click of her heels faded down the hall. Isabella exhaled slowly, trying to regain control of her racing heart. Adrian's gaze lingered on the doorway long after Valeria disappeared. "I hate her," Isabella muttered under her breath. "I know," Adrian said quietly, voice low, almost a whisper. "But I trust you." Isabella looked up at him, confused. He simply gave her a fleeting, almost gentle smile. And for the first time, she realized it wasn't just enemies she had to fear, it was the past. Isabella had begun to think she understood the rules of this world. She was wrong. It started with whispers, soft, careful, almost harmless. Staff members exchanging glances. Guards avoiding her eyes. Even her father seemed different. Distracted. Nervous. Then she noticed the messages. Small things at first, missing items, unexplained visitors, a guard who had vanished without explanation. Her stomach churned. Someone close to them was leaking secrets. She confronted Adrian in the study late that night. "Someone is inside," she said, voice low. "Someone we trust." Adrian didn't flinch. He was seated behind his desk, fingers steepled, watching her carefully. "I suspected as much," he admitted. "You suspected?" she echoed, disbelief and fear rising. "You didn't tell me." "I didn't want to worry you unnecessarily." Isabella's hands clenched. "I'm already worried. This is my life. My safety. And you just..." Adrian held up a hand, calm, unshaken. "The family is loyal, for the most part. But there are cracks. And one of those cracks is dangerous." Her pulse quickened. "Who?" He shook his head slowly. "I don't know yet. But I intend to find out. Tonight." Before she could respond, the sound of hurried footsteps echoed through the mansion. A man burst into the room, one of Adrian's trusted lieutenants. His face was pale. "Boss, it's Isabella." "She..." Adrian's hand shot out, gripping the man by the collar and pulling him close. "Speak." Someone told the Caldero family where you keep her." Isabella felt her blood run cold. Adrian's eyes darkened, dangerous and sharp. "Who?" "I don't know. But it came from inside." A tense silence fell. Adrian released the man, who sank back against the wall, trembling. He turned to Isabella, voice low and urgent. "You need to stay here. Do not leave this room." She began. "No," he cut her off. "You're not a hostage. You're my responsibility. Do you understand?" She nodded, heart racing. He walked to the window, looking out over the estate. His jaw was tight. Every muscle in his body coiled like a predator. "The traitor is close," he muttered. "Closer than I ever expected. And if we're not careful, someone dies tonight." Isabella swallowed hard. She realized, with a sick twist of fear, that in this world, betrayal was far worse than any enemy outside the walls. Because it came from someone who smiled at you, laughed with you, and called you family. And she was trapped in the eye of it. The night was heavy with tension. Isabella sat in the corner of the study, her hands trembling, her mind racing. Every creak of the mansion, every shadow moving across the walls, made her flinch. Adrian stood by the window, gun in hand, watching the grounds with deadly precision. For hours, silence had stretched between them, broken only by the distant hum of engines or the occasional rustle of leaves. "You shouldn't be here," she finally whispered, her voice trembling. "I told you," Adrian replied calmly. "You are my responsibility." She looked at him, heart pounding, not from fear, but something else she didn't want to name. "You think I need protection," she said bitterly, "but I hate that I can't do anything for myself." He turned toward her slowly, eyes dark, unreadable, and yet soft in a way that made her chest tighten. "You're stronger than anyone I've ever met," he said quietly. "But tonight, you don't have to be." Isabella wanted to argue, wanted to insist she could handle herself, but the truth hit her harder than any threat ever could. She didn't want to be alone in this world. Adrian moved closer. His presence was overwhelming. Dangerous. Magnetic. Her pulse raced. Every instinct screamed to step back, but she didn't. "They tried to take you," he said, voice low. And I can't let anyone hurt you. Not ever. Her eyes met his. For the first time, the anger she had carried since their wedding felt like it was melting. You're terrifying, she whispered. And yet, he murmured, you've fascinated me since the day I saw you. Her breath caught. She had fought him in every way, angry words, defiance, distance, but suddenly, none of it mattered. Because in his eyes, she saw the truth. Not just danger. Not just power. Love. Fierce. Unyielding. Unapologetic. Her lips parted, wanting to speak, to deny it, but words failed her. Adrian closed the distance, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. You can hate me, he whispered. Or you can feel this. Feel us. Isabella's chest heaved. For the first time, she admitted it, not to him, not even to herself completely, but the line between fear, hate, and desire had shattered. And in that quiet, charged moment, she realized she might already be falling for the man she swore she'd never love. The enemy she feared most was the one who had claimed her heart. The estate was silent, but Isabella could feel the tension in the air like a storm waiting to break. The Caldero family had returned. Bigger, stronger, more ruthless than before. Their attack was inevitable, and Adrian was already preparing for war. Isabella stood beside him in the control room, surrounded by maps, weapons, and men she barely knew but trusted implicitly. Are you sure about this? She asked, her voice steady, though her heart raced. Adrian didn't answer immediately. He studied her, his dark eyes unreadable. Then he placed a hand over hers. You're ready, he said quietly. Not just to survive, but to fight. Isabella swallowed hard. The reality hit her. She wasn't just a bride anymore. She wasn't a victim. She was part of this world now. Her pulse quickened, not with fear, but with purpose. When the Caldero army finally struck, Isabella was beside Adrian. Bullets tore through the night, explosions shook the walls, and chaos erupted. But she moved like she had been trained for this her whole life, because in this world, survival demanded nothing less. Adrian was a force of nature. Cold, ruthless, unstoppable. But Isabella realized something terrifying and exhilarating. She could match him. Together, they became a storm. Every enemy that thought they could take her, or him, was crushed. Every betrayal, every threat, every shadow of danger was met with precision, fury, and an unbreakable bond. In the aftermath, as the dust settled and the silence returned, Adrian turned to her. You did well, he said softly, his hand brushing against hers. Isabella looked around at the mansion, still standing, still theirs, and then back at him. I didn't just survive, she said, her voice steady. I fought. I'm your queen now. A faint, dangerous smile curved Adrian's lips. Yes, he murmured. And no one will ever forget it. For the first time since the forced marriage, Isabella didn't feel trapped. She felt powerful. She felt alive. She felt love. Not the kind of love that was easy. Not the kind of love that waited politely. The kind of love that burned, consumed, and conquered everything in its path. And in Adrian Volkov's arms, she finally understood, she had found her place. She wasn't just a bride. She wasn't just a survivor. She was the queen of the mafia. And together, they ruled the night.